A lot of great things. Taking the next step, that's what it's all about.
Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. I'm so excited to be here. We have some great things to talk about tonight. Hopefully we have enough time because I know a lot of times we'll go off on a tangent when we have to go off on some of these haters. So we hope y'all are in the live chat tonight because we got time. But be sure to go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content. We're always dropping content on the channel. But before we get started, I want to just quickly introduce those who are new here. This is the Crimson Dynasty. And what we are, we're a sister channel essentially of the Bama Standard Network. We have a few shows here, which we'll get into later in the show, but we do have a few other shows, and ours is one of the two that airs on Wednesday night. Now, this is the Crimson Dynasty. As I mentioned, I'm your host, Sishi, and tonight we have one of our co-hosts, Hannah Stevens. Dan will not be able to join us tonight, however, but he'll be back on next week. But I did want to quickly introduce Hannah and then, of course, introduce our guest of honor. Now, Hannah, she's been here for some time now. I know y'all are familiar with her. She goes off on, and like I said, be sure to hit up that live chat tonight because we got some time today. So go ahead and, talk slick if you want to. Me and Hannah will tag team y'all, and I'm sure Steven, he'll take y'all to church tonight. But like I said, she's our co-host, and she has her own radio show on ESPN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. She's been on other college football shows. It's okay. I think she just wants some attention. But welcome to Hannah. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know that you were kind of under the weather, so we're glad that you feel better and you're here to add your support and your intake. And then also
and my raggedy dog, Liberty.
Oh, she's not raggedy.
She's so needy. I'm like, she has to be right beside me.
She hears me talking and she's like, I know you're not giving her my attention.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to introduce our guest, Stephen M. Smith, the one and only. I don't say Stephen A. Smith, although we like him here. I say Stephen M. Smith for a reason because that's who that is. Now, Stephen, he's not a new face here. He's very, very familiar here. He is essentially the senior analyst of the Touchdown Alabama magazine, but he's also an analyst here on the Bama Standard Network, and I'm sure y'all have seen him before on a few different shows here. But thank you so much, Stephen, for being here again because you joined us last week, and so we always appreciate having you on. And I know that when you and I connect, we're gonna cut up, but that it just is what it is. So I want to kick these off with you, Stephen. How are you feeling tonight, and how do you feel about where we are right now, just as a team?
I gotta start off with this, man. We are so close to football right now.
I know.
Like it's 10 days till August 31st, where you kick off under the lights of Bryant-Denny taking on Western Kentucky. I mean, I feel great right now. Got a chance to speak with Nick Sheridan, a couple other coaches, some players today. Tomorrow, Coach DeBoer will have his final interview with the media to end fall camp. And the next week is game prep week. So, I mean, I'm ready to go. I mean, we went through a whole off season. Folks have been talking nonsense. We can finally kick this football off.
I know. It's finally here. Now, before we really kick things off, like I said, be sure to go ahead and hit up that live chat while y'all are here. I know sometimes we don't have to say that, but I want y'all to feel comfortable to ask any questions that you have, drop any super chats because we love those and you'll be sure to get a shout out. But before we really dive in, I have to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Workspace Solutions. We have their website below in the banner. We always say that if you need a marketing team or if you need, maybe to enhance your digital presence, your online presence, be sure to contact them directly. They can help you out both professionally and personally. And so head over there and let them know that you found them through the Bama Standard Network. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Now, I know, like you said, Stephen, we're right around the corner for some, I don't even want to say college football, Alabama football, because we are the standard period. But I want to kick things off with Akylin Dear. The Akylin Dear. Now, he's a guy who's been on my radar for some time now, and it's so interesting just the timing of things. When you look at, I believe he committed to Ole Miss in March of this year, but then he decommitted just 2 weeks after visiting Tuscaloosa in June of this year. So things happened pretty quickly, and it's kind of like one of those things when you know, and I really hope that was just the case with him. I believe so, but I want to get your take on this because when we look at how physical he is, he's rated really highly. I believe he was the number 4 running back in the class of 2025. He's from the state of Mississippi, right? So of course, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, they really wanted him, but it's too bad because we get the best of the best. But I want to get your take on this because there's a lot of questions out there like, okay, well, what happens with Anthony, aka Turbo Rogers, out of Montgomery, Alabama, who's another running back from our 2025 class who already committed? Do you think that he may leave, or is there a good chance that he may stay?
Well, first and foremost, Dear was a huge get. Dear was huge. I mean, 6'1", 200 pounds, physical between the tackles. He's got gears. He's got burst from the outside, can pass, block, can catch the football at the backfield, a do-it-all type of player. And shouts out to Freddie Roach, who was his primary recruiter. If you all don't know, Freddie Roach's region in recruiting is Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So Freddie Roach on his job. And also a big shout out to Rob Gillespie, Coach G, the running backs coach, kind of closing that deal there on Dear, getting him in. And also, big shout out to Daniel Hill, freshman running back, who's from Meridian, Mississippi. Daniel Hill's been huge in terms of being a player to helping you get those Mississippi prospects. But getting into Anthony Turbo Rogers, I do not think this offsets his commitment whatsoever. I think Alabama's got two of the best running backs in this class for the future. You look at Turbo, what he brings from Carver High School in Montgomery. I told people this, as long as his two goons, James Smith and Quay Russaw, that came from Carver High School as well, as long as those two play this season, that will keep Anthony Rogers in the fold. And you're going to always see Quay. Quay's going to play this year at that Wolf spot. Quay's going to play.
Quay going to play.
So you already got one goon in line right there. And so the other one, James Smith, he's going to be in that wave of defensive tackles that will get out there as well. He'll get reps out there on the field. So I think both of those two are in pocket, which will keep Anthony Rogers in line. I don't see him going anywhere. But to get Dear in here, big get there. You get your dynamic duo in the running back room for the future.
All right. I like it. And y'all heard that. I know, it's been a lot of people that's been kind of scratching their heads there, but I like the fact that you mentioned James Smith and Quay Russaw from Montgomery and just the way that impacts the decision process for some of the guys. Now, Hannah, I'm going to kick it over to you. Were there any questions that you had in particular just regarding this new pickup that we have with Akylin Dear, or any questions regarding fall camp as we're closing in, or our final scrimmage? Any questions from your side?
Sure. I mean, last week we kind of talked about the team dynamic, and I think one of the things that was probably the least surprising is the captains who are named, right? I think that was kind of a no-brainer, but I feel like every team's kind of had a word, Stephen, that kind of defines that unit, that season. What do you think is going to be this team's word to define the 2024 season for them?
Consistency. That's been the word from everybody, from the coaches to the players. We got to be consistent. We got to be consistent in our hunger, consistent in our play, consistent in the execution. That's been the word all off season long, is we got to be consistently knocking everybody else down. So DeBoer's been saying it. Nick Sheridan, Kane Womack, every player's been saying it. That's been the number one word this whole off season, is we got to be consistent from the moment we come in here to when this football is kicked off.
Agreed. And one thing regarding the consistency, it's funny that you say that, because as I was listening to some of the feedback, particularly from Kane Womack, but as we wrapped up scrimmage 2, and just how not even just the coaches, but the players were talking about how much more physical scrimmage 2 was. And just, Kane Womack kind of talked on some of the consistency that he's seen with certain guys. One guy in particular was the transfer that we got from Penn State, I believe, King Mack. Apparently he's been showing out with the pick sixes during scrimmage, and just he's really been making a name for himself, especially, I'm sure it took some adjustment for him to come to Tuscaloosa amidst all the changes that were going on, and really, almost solidify his spot. But I want to get your take on how you feel about just where we are right now after we finish scrimmage 2, and then with certain names. I know that you mentioned, I guess, James Smith, Quay Russaw, certain guys. If we look at the interior defensive linemen, who we think are going to be there, whether it's Jaheim Otis or Tim Keenan, inside linebacker. Of course, we know Deontay Lawson Jahed Campbell. But then when we really get to it, like the bandit, the wolf, all those different positions, safety, I mean, it's really competition on every level. And I'm kind of honing in a little bit more on the defense, because I think that's kind of, that's always something that I feel like Alabama fans, we talk about so much when it's like, okay, you think about the standard of Alabama and, what we're known, and it's that very physical defense. So I want to get your take on that. So when we talk about the King Macks of the world, for example, we look at, the cornerbacks, the Damani Jacksons, or, the safeties, Keon Sabbs. Who has stood out to you when we look at how we finished the scrimmage 2, and just when you look at everything holistically, who has stood out to you, particularly on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, defensively in scrimmage 2, I mean, first and foremost, everybody spoke on how physical it was, just how physical it really was. And those guys were hitting out there, like legit hitting out there. There was a clip of Cole Adams was trying to catch a pass, and Malachi Moore tore him up. I mean, tore that boy up. So, I mean, it was some physicality out there. But the guys that really stood out, tore him up, and I mean, for real.
He got lit up.
I mean, like a Christmas
tree.
Oh my God.
But the guys that have stood out, I mean, number one, King Mack, and just that Husky position is so intriguing because Devontae Smith is the expected starter. But Mack and Red Morgan, those two have been really, I mean, scrimmage 2, Red Morgan has a pick. King Mack has a pick 6. And Kane Womack is like, those are 2 different body types, but they can play. Both of those 2 can, and Devontae Smith can play too. So that Husky position is really interesting. Damani Jackson had a very good second scrimmage, but the corner opposite him, it's a battle between, you got Deshaun Jones out there, you got Mbakwe out there, Xavier Brown. One of those 3 is going to take that spot. I mean, at linebacker, you know what Dingall and Jahed Campbell can do, but Justin Jefferson has risen up in that inside linebacker room. Jeremiah Alexander's doing some things in there. Justin Okonroquo's doing some things in there. And then you got QB Reese out of Birmingham. That kid laid a hit on Rico Scott. Rico dropped the ball. Now Rico redeemed himself, but QB Reese is laying hits in there. So you got a lot of young names that are saying, we going to get on this field. In some way, shape, or form, we're getting on the field. And even down to Jeremiah Beeman on the defensive line, who's now at 296, came in at 265. So you've got the older guys. Yes, they're leading the pack. The Jaheim Otis is, the Tim Keenans, the Tim Smiths, the Jamarian Lathams. They're leading it. When you talk about transfers like LT Overton, Keon Cobb, King Mack, and then these young guys in the room, it's you're going to see some reps. Kane Womack is going to get everybody out here on the field. It doesn't matter if it's 15 reps, 20, 25, 30. He's going to get all of these guys reps out here on the field because Kane was like, that second scrimmage was so physical. He's like, that's what I wanted from the get-go. What you mean? That's what I wanted from the beginning. He's like, I saw our guys take it to another level, another form of intensity. That's what I want to see out there.
That's all I was asking for. And I love that you said all that. Now I'm going to toss it to Hannah. I have another question after Hannah, but I want to toss it to you because I know you probably have a few.
Well, a couple of things. Yeah, I always say that, don't I? Let's talk about the depth, Stephen, because I feel like that's something that really is sticking out to me about this team, that we are not just, a one guy show, that there's depth in positions that, going even into maybe the second, third game, we're still going to see some competition. So first off, talk about some of those positions that you're looking at to be opportunities for not even younger guys, but for a second or third string guy to try to get a start. And also explain how that is so beneficial for a team like Alabama who plays hard ball. This season, the schedule we have is not easy. It's one of the toughest in the country. So when you have a team like Alabama who has the depth like we do, just make it clear to all the haters that are currently in the chat how important that is. Because for me, and I'll say this, I think one of the reasons we've struggled so much in the past couple of seasons was our lack of depth, right? Was the fact that, we didn't have the second and third string guys. Maybe they didn't even have reps in that position. So talk about some of those guys, those positions, and also how beneficial that's going to be for the team.
Well, first and foremost, Hannah, when you look at the depth there, starting off at right tackle, you still have that competition going between Wilkin Formby and Elijah Pritchett. And that's going to be very interesting. Behind, I know people look at, well, Steven, is Parker Brailsford the only center? No, he's not. Rock Montgomery has stepped up as the number 2 center, and Rock can snap the football. And he's really good at snapping the football. So you got Rock Montgomery in there. Gino Vandermark, the transfer from Michigan State. He's come in and has picked up that right guard position very nicely. Onas Anganine has stepped up at that left guard spot as a backup behind Tyler Booker. So there's depth there across the board on the offensive line, and that's just the offensive line. At running back, you know what you get with Justice and Jam. Richard Young ain't playing. He has had a great camp, 217 pounds. I think in the second half, he's going to be kind of that Bo Scarborough type that goes in the second half of games and just plows teams over. Really like what Richard Young brings. Then behind him, you've got Daniel Hill. You've got Kevin Riley, who can play also. So there's that depth there at running back. At wide receiver, I mean, it's all over the board. You got your main 3 with Bernard, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice. Ryan Williams is going to be 4. Then you got Caleb Oldham there. Emmanuel Henderson's in there. Cole Adams is in there. Jared Hamilton's in there. And then you got, Amari Jefferson, Rico Scott, Bubba Hampton. You got names on top of names in there in that wide receiver room. I mean, tight end's the same deal. CJ Dupree's number 1 guy. But then there's Robbie Oots. Then there's Danny Lewis Jr. Then there's Ty Lockwood. Then there's Jay Lindsey. Nice in there. Defensively, I mean, there's 12 dudes. You can look at, Jaheim Otis, Jamarian Latham, Otis, Latham, Keenan, T.M. Smith. But then there's L.T. Overton. There's Jordan Renaud. There's Jeremiah Beeman. There's Edric Hill. There's my guy. 12 dudes.
Damon Payne. Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of people. So what that depth does is you're getting back to having no drop-off in production, right? A guy comes out for a play, the next guy comes in, and there's that same level of intensity. It's that same level of dominance. It's that same level of consistent play out there in the field. And you need that because you're not only giving your next guys, your second wave of guys, your third wave of guys, that confidence to go out there and do what they do with the reps that they're going to have. But this keeps your starters fresh. So when your starters come back in there, they're like, oh, man, like I just saw the second and third team kill me. Now the starter's back in there, and the starter's back in there, and he's back on your head because he's just been fresh. So that's the good thing. It goes back to what Alabama had, 2015, 16, and 17, where you had a Jonathan Allen come out, and you're like, thank God Jonathan Allen's out. And you're like, nah, man, here comes Quentin Williams. Nah, man, here comes Deshaun Hand. Nah, man, here comes Deron Payne. Nah, man, here comes Tim Williams. Nah, man, here comes Darren Lake. And you're like, I thought it was over with Jonathan Allen. No, it wasn't over. Here comes the rest of the cavalry coming in to beat you up there. So it's back to that point where not only do you have the depth, but I think more so, Hannah, you have the coaches that know how to utilize that depth. You have a Kane Womack, you have a Freddie Roach, you have these guys that can utilize, okay, so-and-so has to come out. Okay, you come out, you get in there, don't go foot off their neck. Keep your foot on their neck.
Keep it on their neck.
Out there, and he keeps the foot on the gas.
Hannah, keep it on. That's all. We need a shirt that say that. Just keep it on. Well, I don't know if we need to say that, but
what? Just keep on what?
I was gonna say keep it on their neck, but then I don't know if that's kind of insensitive. I don't know. We can come up with something else.
We can. Okay, so let's talk about the offense for a minute, right? Jalen Milroe, obviously the guy that everyone knows is going to start, but I guess in my opinion, Stephen, and maybe I just think differently than everyone else, but I kind of I'm not doubting Jalen Milroe's ability. I think he has beyond proven himself to be a loyal leader, to be a great quarterback, to be explosive. But I will say that I would not mind there being some times for two things. For us to utilize Jalen Milroe in the Wildcat, and also for us to have that opportunity with having Ty Simpson come in. Because I'll say this, we've seen Auburn do it poorly, because they do everything poorly, try to have more than one quarterback. But I'll say this, something about Alabama is that, especially with Kalen DeBoer running the offense, I think this could be the year that Alabama kind of transitions from, not let's say 85, 90% of the time, we have Jalen Milroe under center, throwing deep bombs, running when he can, but also maybe it's 3rd and 2, maybe it's 2nd and 3. We have Wildcat, or we have Wildcat and Ty Simpson come in. What do you think about that? And, do you think Alabama will ever be a team to do something like that?
Funny you mentioned that, Hannah, because the media, we were asking Nick Sheridan those questions today. And Coach Sheridan just kind of gave a slick smile and said, well, you'll see.
Good.
Like, what packages do y'all want? And so I'm like, I was like, hey, Coach, can you give us the old wishbone package? Okay, wishbone package. What else do y'all want? And somebody actually mentioned, is there a package, Coach, with Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson on the field together? And Coach Sheridan was like, you'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see. So that it very well can happen. It very well can happen.
Now I'm going to say this. There's a comment that's relative to this. Dale Johnson. Dale Johnson. I was reading Don Parker, but Dale Johnson says, you can put it on the screen if you want, don't start this girl. Milroe's QB1. We don't have time to experiment at the QB position. I don't agree with that for two reasons. And I'll let Steven. Why are you laughing at me?
Talking like that. Don't start this girl.
I mean, because I'm a girl. I was like,
excuse me.
Medea, don't start this,
Don't
girl.
start this.
I started it and I will end it.
Don't
okay?
start this, Hannah. Oh my God.
Listen, that should be the shirt. We'll start this and we'll end it. All right. So I'm someone that thinks outside the box. Okay. And if we're being completely transparent, that was what Alabama was doing so well in our dominant years. We were unpredictable. Okay. We became a very predictable team. People knew what was going to happen. The only year I think, in my opinion, been successful being predictable is when we had Derrick Henry. We won the Heisman, and everyone knew he was going to get the ball every single time, and they still couldn't stop him. Okay, we don't live that way now. Okay, if you can make your team better by doing 10% things of the whole season differently, then utilize it. It's all about having opportunities to utilize successful potential in important moments. Okay. I know there's a lot of words, but I'm just saying that's how I think. So that was why I said that, Stephen, is because, I think 90% of the time we don't do it, but in the 10% that we do, especially in big games, maybe against Oklahoma, because if we're being honest, those teams are already preparing for what they've seen on the field last year. So if those big teams have opportunities to play Alabama unpredictably, then we can win.
So I'm gonna take this to two things. So I understand what you're saying. I'm going to take it back to something that Steve Sarkisian said in 2020 when he was Alabama's offensive coordinator at that time, and then something that Kalen DeBoer has mentioned in fall camp. So Coach Sark, when he was in Tuscaloosa, he mentioned, we want to do so many things well that we stress a defense out. We want a defense to defend every inch of the field. And having that type of creativity forces a defensive coordinator. How in the world am I going to defend every inch of this field when they're throwing that at me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it forces you to really wreck your brain trying to see how can I defend this field. And then Kalen DeBoer mentioned we want to be an offense that puts stress on the opposition. We're going to come up with different things. We're going to throw different things at you to really stress you out. And to see how can you catch on to them? How can you combat this? Like, we're going to do things differently. And if you go back and you watch Washington's offense, the last 2 years of Kalen DeBoer, Washington's offense was number one in the country in pre-snap movement, pre-snap shifts, pre-snap motions, a lot of window dressing stuff before the snap. Yep. And the defense is like, what in the world is going on here?
And they didn't get all the false start penalties like they did.
And that's the reason why Kalen DeBoer beat Dan Lanning at Oregon twice. Dan Lanning, great defensive coach, but DeBoer beat him twice. This is why DeBoer even beat, Sarkisian, because of pre-snap motion shifts, movement, arrangements, having a defense going, what the heck is it doing? So I can see your point there, Hannah.
Yeah. And I think that Justin had a question too. You want to?
Stephen, your screen was shaking with that emphatic, what the heck are they doing statement. That was awesome.
I'm just saying, I'm putting myself in the character of a frustrated defensive coordinator because that's how you frustrate them. Because the DC already has their play, and they're like, okay, they've changed it. Now we got to change. Wait, they didn't change again? They shifted again? Who is this guy going in motion? Time out!
Use your inside voice, Steve.
Is the chair you're in literally looks just like the chair that was in the baptismal section of our church.
He can baptized tonight.
Now, actually,
preaching.
So Nick Bennett actually gave me this chair. So it was actually used in the baptismal section.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
Nick Bennett actually sat in this chair when they baptized my little cousin last week. So this chair was actually.
I think that's something for the viewers. Anybody, look, we're gonna have people signing up for baptisms and baby dedications. We're just gonna take them to church.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. He's gonna start a statement by turn to Romans 8.
I know.
In the 28th verse, and it says. Stephen, keep that same energy. You talk about the frustrated coach. Talk about the frustrated analyst. We had those fans whose anxiety is just way up through the roof. They're skies falling type of people. And what I mean by that is they've asked you the same question literally in every chat of every show we've had these past 3 or 4 weeks. So I want to introduce a segment within this segment called This is the Last Time I'm Telling You. And I'll give you those topics that you've addressed. We talked about the other night. Who is going to be the kick and punt returner, Stephen? Is our secondary going to be all right? What's up with the defensive line? Is Caden Proctor going to be able to move around? So if you would, for the last time, clear up all that so our fans can calm down just a little bit.
Like a Jeopardy
enjoy football season.
Okay, so I got to get my cousin Ray in here. This is Ray's. Hey, Ray, this your segment. Man, I'm tell y'all one more time, man.
Oh my God.
Man. Who gonna return the kickoff these punts, man? It's gonna be that boy in Backway. I told you that boy Lex. Nah, it's gonna be that boy Back. It's gonna be that boy Ryan Williams out there. That boy Ryan Williams out there, and then that cat Bernard, Jeremy Bernard gonna be out there. I'm telling you, and that boy Kendrick Lau, zoom Lau, shoo, that boy Lau.
Oh my God,
that's what putting down that Lau. Them four right there.
Stephen, why you had to slump down like that?
Look, so that's Ray's character. Ray just slumped down like that. Yeah. That's Ray's whole character.
I had to get in the character, see, for effect.
I guess so, because I was like, is he feeling okay? I mean, I know, maybe he need to go off camera.
Hey, so that was. So I let Ray have his moments. Now I'm back on stage here.
Come on back.
But for the last time though. So on the offensive line, Caden Proctor is fine, people. I talked to Caden today. The one thing I gotta say, Caden understood, you know what? I made a mistake. And I came back. I made a mistake. I did not think it all the way through when I transferred. I came back. The teammates brought me back. The coaching staff happy to have me back. Caden's like, look, I've been working on my pass pro all off season. I've been working on my run blocking. I know what I got to do. Like the maturity that Caden spoke with today in the interviews, I'm excited about Caden Proctor. He's fine, people. He can move at left tackle. He done won the spot back. He is fine. And last but not least, if I gotta say this one more time about the secondary, these are not babies. These are grown men, full transformers now. They out there playing. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, I don't know if Dave Ballou got the special protein powder, but these boys are going from 160 to 190 something pounds. All right? They fine. All right? We got it right. They fine.
You sound like
thank you, Steven.
I mean, I don't even know. I'll tell you what though, if you ever heard a woman say listen, it's not fair because men can lose weight and gain weight like when they want to. I look at a donut and I gain 10 pounds. I mean, really? No, but I'm just saying. Oh, listen, I'm in rookie school right now. We working out so much, I could probably eat a dozen donuts and burn them off in 3 hours. But for real, it's insane to me how Alabama does it. Because when we rowed, when I was a rower, they had all this stuff. Like this was in 2010, 2011. They had all those amazing protein shakes and all this stuff. And I'm up here like, ugh. Like I had to get with the Gatorade. But the stuff they have now, that smoothie shack, that all that, Alabama's got it made. I mean, they'll put 1,000 calories in a cup for those kids. They'll put everything in it.
Yeah.
I mean, what they've done in terms of nutrition and conditioning and meal planning, it's something. I mean, Hannah, I'm like you. I look at something and I'm immediately imagining myself, I didn't picked up 30 whole pounds.
Well, I had my red velvet cake the other day, so I'm just saying.
But you look at guys like Caden Proctor, they can eat, they can do their meal plan. You out there in practice, and you done lost the weight just being back out there at practice moving like that. Like, Kane Womack is out there in like a full hooded jumpsuit, sweating, losing about 7 pounds, but he gained it back. And then Kane Womack sitting here going, man, it's a blessing. I'm not in Mobile no more. It was so hot down there. We get a breeze here in Tuscaloosa. I feel great.
Barely. Barely.
What did I say? That's not true. I just saw him say that's not true.
Well, before we move on to the next segment, we definitely have to shout out our other sponsor, Title Towel, WhitwellSports.com. We always tell you that your game day is not the same. As a matter of fact, because the season starts in just under 2 weeks now, your game will not be the same without a Title Towel. So be sure to visit WhitwellSports.com and use the promo code STANDARD for an exclusive discount. And also, we still have some shirts for sale, specifically from the Crimson Dynasty or the Bama Standard Network. But Justin has dropped the link in the chat. Everything ships for free. We told y'all before that it's limited supply, so go ahead and get yours before we run out. We're going to have some new shirts dropping soon, but go ahead and get the ones that are out now. We think that y'all will love those. And we do want to move on. I know we spent a lot of time talking about just how we ended things as far as our final scrimmage and then fall camp ending, but as we talk about just Alabama being the greatest, one of our really good quarterbacks, former quarterbacks, AJ McCarron, and actually, let's see. So do we want to talk about Connor? Let's save Connor for after AJ McCarron. He ain't more important than AJ. I wanted to quickly talk about this because I thought it was hilarious. And AJ, he spared no words because Mr. Manti Te'o, however you want to pronounce it, former linebacker for Notre Dame. So we played Notre Dame in the 2012 national championship, right? And of course, they didn't show up. They thought that they should have been there. We always try to remind them that they're not on the same level as Alabama, but they want a seat at the table. So we gave them one, right? So we played Notre Dame in the 2012 national championship. So Manti Te'o, he made some comments, and I'm not really sure what made him say all this, but basically he was saying that essentially Notre Dame was scared. When we came out on the field, they were scared. They couldn't bust a bug in a fruit fry, right? Like, I mean, they couldn't do anything. We knew that. And the type of defense and offense that we had at that time, I mean, they didn't know what to do with us. And so essentially he shared his opinions, whatever. And AJ McCarron, he said, well, when we came out on that field, he's like, Manti is actually completely right. When we came out on that field, they didn't flinch at all. He said Notre Dame actually didn't even get started. And so as I'm reading this, I'm like, AJ, you didn't have to go in on this. Like, I'm sure they still relive these moments, but he said they stayed still and we came flying off of that line. And he said Notre Dame as a whole is weak. He literally he didn't hold back at all. Steven, what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure you remember that national championship. Is AJ like, what is he doing? What's he doing right now? I mean, what you think?
I remember that national championship. I watched probably the first half and then got bored. That was just how dominant Alabama was. Eddie Lacy had a field day. Manti Te'o missed about 10 tackles. I remember the conversation being, oh, they got Everett Golson. Everett got squished like a bug out there. Chance Warmack and DJ Fluke did their thing. The only action that we saw was when Barrett Jones got into AJ's face over a snapping call, and Nick Saban on the sideline, like, my two guys are arguing, trying to see who's going to make the right play. That was the only action the whole night. When the quarterback and your center are having a whole heated discussion in the middle of the field.
Maybe
you
that's
missed where Manti Te'o tackled his invisible girlfriend on the field too.
Yeah, and that happened also. That happened also.
That's it. That was the only tackle he had all night, actually.
I mean, like, Manti, Notre Dame sat there and looked at the swagger that Alabama had out that locker room, and Notre Dame is like, what have we just entered?
I mean, but they should have, like, they knew.
They didn't know.
How did they not know? Like, we were the best. Like,
they
what
didn't watch film. They weren't prepared.
TC.
Oh my God.
TC. Literally, they mental capacity got taken the moment they saw DJ Feluca walk out
with that
ready to go. Like, when Chance Warmack walked out, like, they mental capacity, they soul left their body, CC. Their whole soul just completely left their body.
DJ Fluker looks like he ate one of the Notre Dame players as he's walking onto the field. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, DJ, love him to death. He is like the, velvet teddy bear. That's how but
a velvet.
You know what I mean? You know,
you gotta be velvet, Hannah.
You know what I'm talking about? They got this thing.
You know, velvet feel real good.
Whatever. Be quiet. You know what I mean? Anyway, but like, if you don't know him, like, if you ever saw him, just like, well, I mean, literally, what I envision is, I can't remember that scene in the movie where, like,
Green Mile, Green Mile.
I don't remember, but like the scene where, like, the kid's standing there and it's like he's like, and it's like his soul just leaves his body. Like, that's what I envision when they saw Alabama, because I remember being like, yeah, those are some Bama boys. Like, that gum, that's a big man. That's what I remember. I remember looking at their bellies and I'm like, they just ate 15 barbecue sandwiches, but I thought, and they are ready to go. I mean, I'm telling you.
Look.
That was the difference in conferences right there.
Forget 15 sandwiches, Hannah. They had 5 plates of cornbread, yams, turkey necks,
collard greens,
barbecue corn,
green corn,
all of it.
Curl McCall.
Hey, and some Kool-Aid out the mason jar.
Not the Kool-Aid.
In high C.
I'm telling you, and they came on the field looking at Nick Saban. Let's go, coach.
I know, man. They like, man, we want that steak after we play.
And the best part about it was so strategic by Nick Saban to be like, y'all boys go first. Because, like, it could have been anyone else that led the pack. But the fact that he had them big boys like, whoop, 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 when they walked out, I mean, they bit, and Notre Dame tucked their tail and ran.
There was a meme that was going around. I don't know. I think maybe around that time or the 2015 time where we had a few of our linemen, and literally it said on there, and I still have it. It says, "Behold the great wall of no." And to this day, I'm like, that needs to be framed. It needs to be like put in our tongue. Like, wherever we go, we just need to take, because that's what we're known for. Like, I don't understand. Why did Notre Dame think that they could compete? Like, just because I think at that time it was still BCS, right? Yeah. Behold the great wall of like, that's Alabama. Like, they should have known they couldn't compete. But before we jump over to Mr. Sign Stiller, I think, Hannah, you had something that you wanted to mention about Courtney Morgan.
Yeah, and Stephen, and I want to get both of y'all's perspective on this, because I think that, I'll say this about Nick Saban. And Stephen, let's take it back a little bit more. I firmly believe that one of the reasons Les Miles got let go at LSU was his inability to adapt, right? He didn't really want to change with the way the program and the way college football was changing, and evolving, and Nick Saban did. And it took time. And I don't know if you remember my question years ago at Media Days when I simply asked, how has Lane Kiffin changed you as a coach? Because I firmly believe that if it would have been for Lane Kiffin coming to Alabama, being offensive coordinator, Alabama would probably be a little bit more behind they are because he helped bring in dual threat quarterbacks. He helped bring in the Blake Barnett, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa years, where like we were kind of evolving. But Kalen DeBoer is already showing he is doing that as well, bringing someone that I think is going to be a huge asset for the Crimson Tide. Already has shown to be, and that is, and it sounds weird to even say this because like Nick Saban never would have had one of these, but it works. Courtney Morgan being the GM, so to speak, right? And homeboy is going to be averaging, and listen, if I get paid this much, I'd spit shine the cleats. I don't care. $825,000 a year for 3 years. And I just want your thought on this because I think what DeBoer is showing is an ability to find ways to relate to players in the current era of football. And having someone like Morgan, who's relatable, who's young, who's passionate, who has all like what you want in a guy like this, to bring him to Tuscaloosa, I think is one reason why we're seeing players so excited to come to Tuscaloosa. So I just wanted y'all's feedback and thoughts on that.
I'll say to have Courtney Morgan here, this is inner city Los Angeles. He's from inner city LA. Like he knows that vibe, those athletes, that whole environment. Mm-hmm. And to have him here, keep in mind, Lincoln Riley tried to get him to USC.
That's right.
He tried hard. Kalen DeBoer said, let me drop that stack off there. Bam! And pulled that joker right, locked that joker up about 3 years.
How he did it, Stephen?
Bam! Locked that joker up.
Bam!
Because Kalen DeBoer understands. Courtney Morgan not only has the lingo with these young athletes,
that's right,
but he also knows how to get the lingo of the parents, how to recruit them in here. He is incredibly savvy with NIL.
Yeah.
Really savvy with name, image, and likeness. Courtney Morgan just has the way that man be talking, I'm like, he could have like a whole seminar if he wanted to. The man is gifted.
Yeah.
And to have him in here and the foresight that Kalen DeBoer had to bring him in here, that's going to be monumental. Not just for Alabama in recruiting, but Alabama in terms of NIL collective, Alabama in terms of landing the best transfer players, Alabama in terms of remaining on the cutting edge of college football because Courtney Morgan is a cutting edge type dude.
And
exactly.
Now the highest paid front office figure in the country in college football.
Right. And I want to answer you too, Hannah, but really quickly, I want to give a shout out to Don Parker. Thank you for the super chat. He said that championship game, which is a 2012 against Notre Dame, is what I want to see Alabama get back to. Relentless, not a lot of trash talk and no gonna do speeches. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do this, gonna do that. They just lined up and beat you up. Stephen M., what's in that 8-track?
Okay, so in the 8-track playlist today, Don, in the 8-track playlist,
Lord.
Man, I had like some random stuff going today in the 8-track.
What you had some hood stuff?
Man, we had a little bit of hood. We had some Marvin Gaye going in there today.
Al Green.
Had Pendergrass in there. So we had a little mixture stuff going in there today.
Okay. And speaking of Courtney Morgan, I agree. And I feel like it's one of those, I look at it as you put your money where your mouth is, right? And when you look at like a business, like structurally, you can't have someone wearing too many hats, right? I mean, you look at how big businesses are typically structured with your CFO, your CTO, CEO, all of them. So it's like, it makes me think about that. Like there's a role for everyone and you got to get the best people to do the job, but you have to pay them for that job as well. You have to be able to pay them top dollars. So I think that with the way, and not even just him, I mean, you look at how I believe Jamarcus Shepard, other coaches who got the pay raises when they did and became co-defensive coordinator, whatever the roles were, to to me, that's a way of Kalen DeBoer saying, look, I see you. I see the value that you bring to the table, and I want to keep you, because Alabama does have a history of sometimes, our coaches going on after a year or two. So hopefully that's not the case. But for the sake of time, I want to
Can I just say one more thing to that?
Yeah.
LOL to the coaches and players who jumped ship when Saban retired, because the joke's on them. All of them. Like, at least Caden Proctor has the sense to see his mistake and come back. But even the coaches who left, like the one we won't talk about who went to Georgia,
and they wasted no time. They literally left so fast.
What a mistake. I mean, honestly, that was the biggest mistake of his career. Mark me on it.
I'll also say this before we move on here. Kalen DeBoer's personality, don't be surprised if all of these coaches hang around for more than 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of Kalen's personality, don't be shocked if other teams may call, but because of how magnetic DeBoer's personality is and how much he caters to his coaches, they don't go anywhere.
Perfect.
But Hannah,
praise the Lord.
Hannah, when we met him A-Day, when we were talking to him, I was literally thinking like, coach, you got a job for me?
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, Mr. DeBoer, I wouldn't mind coming back.
You need someone to clean your house or like shine your shoes or I don't know.
Look, man.
Pick up your mail. Watch your dogs.
Look, man. If you're looking for somebody to set the antenna on your TV.
I know. Look, if you just need a motivational word every morning, look, just hire us. Because we ain't gonna get into that. But I did, for the sake of time, I know that we talked a couple times about the sign stealer. Like, I get tired of saying his name just because I feel like but I think it's worth mentioning because it's just so wild to see what's happening. So essentially, he just got offered a high school coaching job as a defensive coordinator at the Samuel C. Mumford High School. I believe it's somewhere up north, but he got offered a defensive coordinator position at a high school. And not just that, he has a Netflix documentary dropping, I believe, in another week, around August 27th. Yes. And guess what it's called? Sign Stealer. And but apparently, I didn't know how to feel about this in regard to Netflix, because basically they're trying to give him the opportunity to tell his side of the story, because what in the trailer that was released about a week or two ago, he essentially said, well, if he's a bad guy, then basically everybody in college football is a bad guy. And I'm like, no, sir, what you did, you took things to a completely different level. Like, I would literally question his morals and his integrity. Actually, I do question it to go those lengths to steal it for the amount of time. Now,
I agree.
But this is crazy. And I know that some people would look at it as, okay, well, he's basically being rewarded. But my thing is that I have good character and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night doing what he did. Yeah. I don't know, if that's the case with him, but I want to get y'all's takes on that. I mean, I'm pretty sure this little raggedy high school, they heard about all this whole debacle before they offered him that defensive coordinator position. And shout out to Jason Haywood. I'm glad Courtney Morgan, thank you for the super chat. I'm glad Courtney Morgan got that bag. He's the X factor of our team. Well-deserved. Roll Tide roll. Yeah, you're right about that. I want to get y'all's takes really quickly on Connor. Steven, I saw you squinting your eyes. I don't know if you were squinting like that because of what I read or what I was saying, or if I don't know, maybe it's some baptisms going on back there.
I'm just gonna say this about Connor, man. First and foremost, Michigan gonna get obliterated this season. The NCAA is going to do some, and this is the PSA to the NCAA. Do not drag y'all foot on this. Y'all have dragged y'all foot on so many things. Okay, do not NCAA. Do not drag y'all foot on Michigan. Dig in on these jokers. There's a reason why Jim Harbaugh left as fast as he did. Jim know he dirty. He know he dirty. He know he dirty. He know. Dig in on this Michigan program because something ain't right.
Exactly.
Something is not right. Period. But get back to Connor. The fact that not only did the high school hire him, but the fact that Netflix said, you know what, bro? We're going to give you a documentary.
I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a joke at first, but I'm like,
anyone can get a Netflix documentary now. I mean,
But why would you sponsor something like that? Like if it's an open investigation, you would think
because there's
Netflix.
stupid people who will actually watch it.
That's crazy. This is like literally absurd. And the biggest thing that got me is that a lot of times, like when there's like a legal concern, an entity as big as a university such as Michigan, one would think if they literally wanted to separate themselves and say that they had no idea that Connor did all that, which I'm pretty sure when he was buying those tickets, I'm pretty sure he got reimbursed for that. But my thing is, if you literally want to say that, they would have had some separation there legally. Why was he sitting up there at our game against Michigan? I mean, he's sitting up there in the stands, loud and proud. He's like, "Oh yeah, those are signs that I stole. Or we gonna win this?" Like, it's what?
Can I say something?
Do you know what his code? You know what his code name was when he came in?
What?
Jamie Furniture.
Steven.
That was his code name. The man had a fake mustache. He would walk in. Yeah, I'm Jamie Furniture.
You for real?
Yes, that was his code name.
That's better than Lane Kiffin's. What was Lane Kiffin's? Something.
Joey Freshwater and then Joey Saltwater.
They dumb. They all okay. Listen, can I comment on this?
Please.
I mean, this is the thing. I'll say two things. Okay. Harbaugh jumped off that Michigan ship. I said faster than Rose let go of Jack, but also he portrayed Michigan faster than Judas portrayed Jesus. All right, like, he was gone. He knew. Listen. He said, "You know what? We already all screwed over. We might as well just cheat and win, and then I'm gone. I'll just take my national championship trophy, pack it, and go." Yep. He was gone. And I'll say this: cheaters gonna cheat. All right, let's just ask Tennessee, Auburn. You know, they gotta do what they gotta do to win. But they lose integrity, character, and honestly, it affects them down the road. Because look at recruiting. Look at how things are happening for Michigan. Because, I mean, the reality is this, and I'll say this. I went to the Rose Bowl. I know, Stephen, you did too, right? But, like, were you at the Rose Bowl?
I was not there, but go ahead.
I bet you were glad, too.
I was there. I am glad I went.
I'm so thankful I didn't go.
I was so mad when we lost, and there was a Michigan fan. I'll tell you right now, it about made me lose my Christianity for about an hour because he kept looking at me, and I literally, and he kept throwing some of me, and I said, "Listen, I kid you not, right? I kid you not. I sound so bad." I said, "You look at me, or you throw something at me again." I said, "I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna beat your rear end up." So I said, "I felt."
An Auburn fan did that to me before, and then ran.
I was all the food anyway. All that to say, there are Ohio State fans in our section that hate Michigan that much, right? I didn't even care. I'm like, they didn't have a ball game to go to at that point. But it's so insane to me because even when they won, like, I'm like, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like when a cheater in your class gets 100 on the test because they cheated, and you're like, what goes around comes around. Like, eventually you're going to do something and suck because you've cheated this whole time.
You're going to go get a job, and you can't perform the job.
There ain't no way on God's green Harbaugh. Okay, I'll tell you what, Harbaugh's dumb, but he ain't that dumb. Okay, like he's blind, but he can still see. All right, like he knew what was going on. He pretended not to, but he did. And you know what? If he would have actually been an example of what a man of integrity and character does, he would have handled it then and done what Nick Saban does and say, guys, I'm going to self-report a couple of these things that we do, like smoking cigars every Tennessee game, because I want our program to be run with character and integrity. Michigan's like, you know what? I don't care about any of that.
They're like, whatever it takes.
And I don't care what comes after that. I just want a title in my bag when I go to LA.
But you know what? They had the audacity to be upset when no one, you don't get respect from cheating. So when Coach Saban retired a week after they won this, they so-called won the national championship, and they literally felt some type of way. Huh?
I said with an asterisk at the end now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic. But speaking of Coach Saban, he recently spoke with the Chicago Bears coach, Matt Eberflus, and they were just talking about, and they were just talking about NFL quarterbacks and essentially why the fail rate is so high. And I thought that was a very interesting discussion point, because a lot of times you see, people, they're so quick to call certain NFL players a bust, or, he was so good in college, he went to the NFL, what became of him, especially quarterbacks, because we know when it comes to just how, when the names are called and how the teams, as far as like when they're calling their prospective player, just the way that typically plays out, like 1 through 3, those are going to be the worst teams in the nation. You can't put it on one player to basically turn the whole system around in just 1 year. And essentially what Coach Saban was saying is that he believes a lot of, just why the fail rate tends to be pretty high amongst the quarterbacks, especially their rookie year and even the next year, within the first 3 years, is because of the expectation, the level of expectation. You look at a Bryce Young, which to me, he's always going to be a winner in my book. He's just one of the best to ever do it, I believe, especially as far as college, but I think he's going to be one of the really good ones in the NFL as well. But when you look at someone like a Bryce Young, where he did so well in college, where they expect him to go straight to the NFL and then in 1 year just be just amazing, like the Joe Burrows, the Jalen Hurts, all these guys. And it's like, it's kind of an unfair and unrealistic expectation. Yeah, that's not really fair, because it's like, okay, well, I mean, you don't even give them room to grow. They're still growing. So I want to quickly get y'all's takes on that. And then I see that we're kind of pushed for time, but I want to quickly get y'all's takes on that. So Hannah, I'll start with you, because you're about to explode with what you want to say.
I love the conversations. I mean, when you're actually picked first, it kind of sucks, right? Like when you're the number 1 pick in NFL draft, I mean, a lot of times you get the short end of the stick because you're going to the worst team in the league. And it works out for some players, but it takes years. And I'll say this, thank the Lord, you have McDaniel in Miami that actually has the common sense to say, we're building this team around Tua, because so many times coaches and programs will throw away a quarterback that's really good. But and let me just say this I'll give another example, Mac Jones, okay? You don't have a player that goes to New England, becomes such a great player as a rookie, and then they make all these changes. He's being coached by someone who shouldn't even be coaching him. And then he has a poor year, and they're like, all right, bye. That's usually what an NFL team does. But when you have programs like the Panthers and the Dolphins who are like, you know what, we're going to now draft players that we need in these other positions, that's been key. So I love what Nick Saban said, because I think it's so true. Because Nick Saban believes in a process, and every program should have one. But the issue is that a lot of programs don't. They don't have a process to actually build a program around the right players. They tend to build programs around the wrong players. And so for me, I think you're going to look at Bryce Young. You're looking at Tua, great years. But I'll be honest with you, Tua may do a fantastic job in Miami. I have no doubt. As long as homeboy can stay healthy, he'll be fine. But I think, in my opinion, and Stephen can go off if he wants on this topic, not off the show, but just clarify that, maybe say bye. Bye, Stephen. Just kidding. But I actually think Mac Jones has the best opportunity this year to make a name for himself, because you have the issues with staying healthy of Trevor Lawrence, but also he's playing for a program that actually wants to build a team around a successful quarterback. So that's my thought on it. I love what Nick Saban said. I think it's important. And I love the fact that he has now become like the football guru that even the NFL coaches are having come up there. I love it, and great fit for Saban.
Exactly. And Stephen, I want to get your take on that, and then also drop any social media that you have before you hop off.
I mean, I agree with Hannah. I mean, Nick Saban had a great conversation about that. And we're starting to see more football. We're starting to see more NFL programs, more GMs, the general managers, because they are the ones that handle the drafting. The owners, yes, they're the top dogs, but those GMs, they're in the war room. They're in the green room. They're handling those draft picks. We're starting to see more GMs with the mindset of how can I get these rookie quarterbacks to hit early? How can I get them to hit early? And now you're starting to see more GMs. I got to hire an offensive-minded coach. Because these defensive-minded coaches, they'll tell these young quarterbacks, play not to lose. Just protect the ball. Don't let it rip. Play behind your defense. That's not football anymore. The offensive coaches, what do you like? Let's let it rip. Let's have fun with it. Let's push the ball downfield. What receivers do we need to draft? What running backs do we need to draft? What offensive linemen do we need to draft? The offensive coaches, they have these young quarterbacks' best interests at heart. Great point by Hannah. Mike McDaniel's got Tua's best interest. If Tua can just stay healthy, Tua's going to be a star. You look at you remove Mac Jones from that dumpster fire in New England. You put him back in Jacksonville with Doug Peterson. That's going to work. You look at the Panthers. They addressed the atrocity that was the team last year. You bring in Dave Canales. What does young Dave Canales do? Get some weapons around Bryce Young. These GMs are starting to understand for these young quarterbacks to work, I got to put a team around this quarterback. An offensive-minded coach, big-time running backs, receivers, playmakers around this quarterback so that this quarterback can work. You even look at the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears since Mike Ditka, since 1985. They've been defense for decades. What did the Bears finally do? Hold on. Put a pin in this. Let's get Caleb Williams. Let's get Romo Dunze. Let's get DeAndre Swift. Let's get some offense in here. And that's why you're seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers still stuck like a 1976 car. Because they're stuck in defense.
Yep. Hey, we need to talk about this more often, Stephen. You and I need to talk more NFL sometime.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you can hear us okay. I hope you're not breaking up. We really appreciate you joining us tonight, Stephen. And we, your antics.
He ignored me. I was like, fine, bye. I
was gonna say I thought his sound dropped or something. Like,
I enjoyed this. This was Hannah.
He was whatever.
I can talk college football, NFL. I can talk ping pong if there's a competition for it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. Do you want any socials, any other shows that you want to mention?
Oh, absolutely. So the socials here at Coaching M. Smith, on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith there. The site, of course, touchdownalabama.com, touchdownalabama.com. Tomorrow is the final day in terms of coaches interviews. We got Coach DeBoer tomorrow to end fall camp, and then we're getting ready for game week. So we kick off this football August 31st. I'm ready.
All right. We're ready. Well, roll Tide, roll Stephen, and thank you so much. And you be safe in these streets.
I'm going to try to.
All right. And then really quickly, Hannah, as you were talking, I was thinking about Jalen Hurts, for example, when we talk about coaches who build around the quarterback, and you look at, I believe Doug Peterson was still the coach at the Eagles when Jalen was drafted, but then now, of course, Nick Sirianni, and I see that with Nick and what he's done over the last couple of years. You look at AJ Brown and certain guys that they've bought in, and so that's really going to be the key. And maybe that has to do with the coaches saying, you know what, this is our guy. So maybe a part of that has to do with whether they bought into the quarterback themselves. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But I definitely think those were some really, really good points. And I think you had some. I know Big Mouth Chris was running his mouth in the chat. We ain't giving. But I know you had some jokes for Auburn, so maybe he'll enjoy them.
I should tell. All right, Chris. Hey, Chris, let me get you to answer this one. I already told him last week. Hey, Chris, how's it go? My head. I'm so tired. Hold on.
You say you was ready with your
has 100 yards and 42 teeth? I'm waiting. Do. That would be the front. No, that would be the front row in Jordan Hare.
He's quiet now.
He quiet.
Yeah.
That's what has 42 teeth and 100 yards. The front row in Jordan Hare Stadium.
I know Tennessee not in here talking because we smoke them when we got them, and they get mad when we smoking them, but we got them.
Tennessee, you know what Tennessee and Auburn have in common? Their wins are so few and far between. They have to live off of them for a long time.
And the ugly orange.
Chris is trying to tell us, where it's at 2024, not 2012, says the man who literally probably wakes up every morning to the kick six. So he probably just had. You know what? And that's why I'm glad we got rid of CBS, because honestly, that's the only highlight they have to play for y'all.
But
do they want to have Peyton, whatever y'all's last name, Dorn?
But think about it though.
Throw another interception.
They keep showing the kick six, but that led them nowhere because they lost to Florida State in the national championship. So that's
the best part about it. Like, your best moment in your college football history
ended in failure. Ended in failure. How is that the best thing that you can talk about in the last decade, more than a decade? It ended in failure. That's pathetic. And then Tennessee coming here running their mouths. y'all are ridiculous. At the end of the day, y'all come to our shows because we have stuff to talk, because they're ultimately y'all are scared. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. But if you're scared, say you scared. Like, we're gonna be barking out of those tunnels like we used to do. We're getting back to that standard. I mean, it just is what it is. But let me see who else in here running their mouth. I don't see Florida State tonight unless I missed them, or Ohio State. I think we upset the Ohio State guy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I think we upset him. All right. Well, let's see. Well, we will have Teek's Take tonight at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. They're actually going to have ESPN analyst Cole Kublik on tonight, so be sure to check them out. 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. And then we will have Saturday Nights Talking Bama this weekend, actually, of course, Saturday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time with Josh Tucker and JB, so be sure to tune in. It's going to be an awesome show. And then Hannah, do you have any other shows that you want to mention, or any social media?
Yeah, my phone's blowing up. You can find me on, my dog literally about to put me up the edge. You can find me on Facebook at the Sign Girl. You can find me on Instagram at, I always forget my Instagram because I feel like I've changed it so many times. You can find me on Instagram at the Hannah Stevens.
Hannah.
You know what? I still believe we got to change your Instagram name. Like, I think we need to change it. Like,
who, mine?
Yeah.
You think
we
it's
got to change it to something?
I don't know. I don't know what to change it, because I've had it, I think, since I created it. Chris, look.
We'll wrap it up, Chris, because we got.
Is that an AI generated image? Like, y'all don't have anything of value on the World Wide Web of Auburn football, so you had to get an AI generated image? Like,
Auburn has nothing of value.
They don't. Like, their stadium is invaluable. The city, like the pastures, the green pastures where y'all go cow tipping. Like, y'all are just horrible. Y'all are disgusting.
The only thing of value they have in Auburn is those porta potties.
Disgusting. Oh, they're so gross. Everything about them is disgusting. I just don't understand. Like, if I am a football, if I play any sport and I'm good at all, why would I go there? I don't care about no legacy. I would be looking at my parents like, this is the best that you could do. You went here? Like, what? Anyway, we're not, it's not worth it. Anywho,
they worth it. They low down. They dirty. They some cheaters.
They're raggedy. They're so raggedy.
That should be the new thing about Michigan. They low down, they dirty, they some cheaters.
Cheaters, yeah, because we call
they low down, they dirty, they some sign stealers. That's what
I mean, Netflix said it first, right?
Like that.
Sign stealer. That is horrible. Like, anyway, well, y'all, it's been a good one. We really appreciate everyone in the chat. We didn't want to spend too much time going off. We'd rather talk about some good news, positive things, that's going on with the program. So, but y'all can check the haters for us. And then, like Hannah said, I do need to get a shorter Instagram, but for now, you can find.
Now to remember it.
I need to count how many letters and characters. You can find me on Instagram, beauty_of_intelligence. I'm so surprised that they didn't have like a character limit. I can't use my first name because like websites always say that I have like an invalid character in my name. What? An apostrophe? Like, it's just so stupid. Oh, please use a valid character. Like, this is a part of the English that we learn. Anywho, be sure to check us out and meet us here same time, same place next week, and roll tide roll.
Roll tide. I don't even know what that was.